This video is brought to you by Mubi, a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from all around the globe. Get a whole month free at Mubi.com/Karsten. Hey everyone, welcome back to What I Watched This Month July edition. This was the longest month of my life. Let's get into it. I started the month with Summertime. This is directed by David Lean, the fellow behind Lawrence of Arabia, and I really enjoyed this movie. This is one of those movies where an older woman goes on a vacation she's always dreamed of going on, and then she has a weird, unexpected experience. I thought the cinematography of Venice was quite lovely. It really made me want to go there. And I thought Katharine Hepburn was incredible. I can't believe this is the first movie of hers that I've seen. Overall, I found this to be really charming and just a delight to watch. Kind of a comfortable watch. I will say what you want about my Letterboxd reviews, but Study Abroad deserved way more love. I thought that was I thought it was funny. Then I watched Jaws. Haven't seen Jaws in full since high school, and I gotta say, still holds up. Easily one of the most structurally perfect movies. I can't come up with a single thing it doesn't do right. I'm not gonna sit here and say Jaws still scares me. It's like, come on, we know about the sharks now. But there are still some pretty unsettling scenes in here, and I've watched those scenes quite a bit. It says a lot about how timeless and special this thing is. Then I watched Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You know, it isn't that bad. And I was thinking this before I saw Dial of Destiny, for the record. I think we can all agree that there are certain scenes in here that really work. The Nuketown scene, the ant scene, the college chase scene. I think the ending is stupid, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's that bad. It's stupid, but it's fun. At the end of the day, I just want Indiana Jones to entertain me, and those first three are some of the most entertaining movies ever made, so this was never gonna live up to that. Plus, it does unfortunately miss the mark a good amount of the time, with car chases that never end, corny performances that aren't charming, again, a lot of stupid moments, and above all, I think it probably has the laziest plot to come out of the franchise, but I still don't think it deserves the hate that it gets. And I watched Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now this is not great. I didn't hate it. I can still say I had some fun at the end of the day. The last 20 minutes are almost perfect to me. It's such a blast that I'd almost say it's worth the 2 hours of dullness leading up to it. But that's the thing. Most of this movie is really boring and muddy and awkward. It just felt like I was watching another weird CGI Disney movie from the last few years, not like I was watching an Indiana Jones movie. Harrison Ford is too old. I'm gonna say it. I love him. He has the charm, and I actually might say he delivers his most emotional scenes as Dr. Jones in this movie, but he just doesn't sell any of the action, which is like the main thing. In fact, all of the action in this movie felt extremely slow besides the final scene. Indiana Jones was the first movie that made me want to make movies. It's a weirdly personal character to me, and to watch an Indiana Jones movie and feel not a single emotion for most of the runtime was just weird. I had some fun, sure. It wasn't a total waste of time, but next to the other Indiana Jones films, I'm not sure I can even count this as being one of them. Then I watched The Idiots, and it's been a while since I've talked about Lars von Trier on this channel, and it hasn't gotten any easier to talk about his work. This is about a group of people who pretend to be mentally disabled in public. It was a really uncomfortable watch, and actually a very unlikable movie. I love a movie/show about unlikable characters, but this was really challenging that. But you saw the rating. I still came out enjoying this, and that's because I found a lot of the ending to be surprisingly moving. This, more than The Celebration, seemed to tap into the rawness that comes from the Dogma 95 style. I lost myself in this one way more than The Celebration, and it became increasingly difficult to separate myself from the world of the film, the same way the characters would struggle to snap out of their performances. And how things come crashing down in the end of the film, for reasons I can't exactly make sense of at the moment, really struck a chord with me, almost to the point of crying. I think for that reason alone, this is a really fascinating film to me that pulls off the impossible. I think it's deeply immature and kind of annoying, but it's very honest in some ways, and I really like that about it. It's undeniably cruel, but it is so aware of that, which could be annoying to a lot of people again. But to me, it was one of the most raw and uncomfortable looks into human behavior that I've seen on film, or I guess video, and I will definitely not forget about it. And I watched Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. What a title. And I had fun. I have a lot less passion for these movies than a large chunk of the internet. I would not die for them the way some people would. I just think they're a really fun time, and this was one of them. I can say about the same about this one as I can about most of them, though I do think Fallout is a little bit better. What I will say about this is that the final scene of this is not only incredible, but it's also just basically a Looney Tunes episode. It's so funny. Literally, there's a piano gag. I mean, come on. Are we serious here? And I watched Starlet. This is one of Sean Baker's earlier works before Tangerine, and I liked it. I definitely was not as blown away by it as I have been with everything else I've seen by him, but this still taps into a sort of realism that you don't see too often in modern filmmaking. Very few filmmakers nail American life like he does, this being proof that this has always been the case. I love how bright yet unsaturated it all feels. It has a very unique look to it. I don't know if that was a budgetary restriction or an intentional choice, but it works really well. And Besedka Johnson was easily the standout performance of this. She really got to me. Then I watched A Man Called Otto, and I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I haven't read the book yet. I do plan to. I heard it's pretty great, but I thought this was really cheesy and not my thing. I've seen depression on film a lot. I've seen a lot of depictions of what that looks like, and this felt the least believable, and because of that, the whole thing kind of fell apart to me. I think the score is pretty, and there are certainly some funny, lighthearted moments that made me smile. I do think this is one of the better Tom Hanks performances I've seen in recent years. I was actually kind of surprised at how much I liked what he was doing here. He takes a pretty repetitive character and turns him into something very interesting and nuanced. But overall, again, I thought this was really corny, way too long, and just left me very underwhelmed. Then I watched True Romance. What a movie. I mean, what a movie. I'm actually shocked at how much I liked this, because a lot of the script is really immature and poorly aged, yet the direction and the performances really make up for it. I am aware Tarantino wrote the script, and I love Tarantino. I'm not saying it was a bad script, it was just a hard script to win me over on, and Tony Scott sure as hell won me over. There's a lot of heart in here, way more heart than a story like this needs, and there's also a lot of humor, which just made for a really solid and satisfying crime story. It's enough to give me a great time. I clearly do not know how else to talk about this. It was just really fun. And I watched Close, and it's not as fun. I'll tell you that much. This is a capital D drama about what happens when a tragic event happens to two 13-year-old boys. See, you kind of go into this knowing it's going to break you. You can sense that dread lurking underneath the film for the first 30 minutes, and the boys have such a heartwarming relationship that you're just not looking forward to it. But the film is gentle about these big emotions and tells the story so carefully. When you experience death close to you for the first time as a kid, it changes everything. There's no turning back from that. It just disrupts everything in your life. And the film examines that transformation at such an intimate level in a way that I haven't really thought about since I was a kid experiencing these feelings for the first time. That's something I couldn't stop thinking about while watching this, and it's only a small part of what makes this so special. Then I watched Serpico. This is a Sidney Lumet film starring Al Pacino about a New York City cop fighting against the corrupt system he works under. I'm actually surprised at how much this worked for me, considering how tame it was about a really intense subject. I guess Al Pacino is the main draw here, obviously. He carries every scene in this movie, both with how great he looks and with how nuanced his performance is. It's a very frustrating watch, and he brings a lot of that to the table here. I wish it had a bit more bite to it, but you know, I'm still glad I watched it. Then I watched Barbie. I already talked about this in a video, but let me address one thing while I have you. A lot of people commented on that video talking about how the movie hates men, how it's anti-man, how I had to have been paid to enjoy this movie as a man. Sometimes comments just piss me off, and sometimes they just make me laugh with how ridiculous they are, and that's kind of how I felt with all these Barbie comments. As if the movie isn't literally also about how men are treated in society and how they take that out on everyone else as a result of how they're treated. I feel like the movie has a lot of empathy towards Ken as a character. I don't know where this whole anti-man thing has come from. Did no one watch this movie? It can do that, and it can also poke fun of him at the same time. Men are allowed to be made fun of. I definitely was not paid to like that movie. I'm just really into a fun and colorful time at the movies, as most of you know. And then I watched Oppenheimer. As expected, this has really grown on me. I still haven't rewatched it, mostly because every 70mm screening near me is still a zoo and impossible to get into, which makes me really happy to see a movie like this do so well. It gives me hope. But yeah, I really can't stop thinking about this thing. It might be a masterpiece. I'll probably have more thoughts on it next month. And I watched The Hustler. Finally watched this after watching The Color of Money twice, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, I feel like similar to The Color of Money, the only reason I really loved this was because I love playing pool and watching pool, and for that reason, this was just super entertaining. If it were about anything else, I'd say the film is a little slow, but to me, honestly, I thought it was riveting. Paul Newman lights up every scene he's in. I could look at him all day. I love this movie. Then I watched Talk to Me. Did a video on this one already, but I really enjoyed this. Genuinely unsettling stuff, a refreshing type of horror movie to see in theaters, and inspiring to see coming from two YouTubers. It's kind of a must-see in my opinion. I also watched The Idol this month. Terrible show. show. Can't believe this was this month. I already forgot that happened. And I've also been watching How To with John Wilson, which is an incredible show. One of my favorite things HBO has on the platform. You should definitely check it out. And hey, that's what I watched this month. What'd you watch? Let me know. And as always, thanks for watching. Go watch these movies and form your own opinion. And if you're looking for something to watch next month, you should check out this week's sponsor, Mubi. Mubi is a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from all around the globe. From iconic directors to emerging auteurs, there's always something new to discover. With Mubi, each and every film is hand-selected by its team of curators. Discover the best of cinema at your fingertips, streaming anytime, anywhere. The same way you guys go to me to find something to watch, I go to Mubi. They always recommend me something really interesting, really worth my time. I've discovered plenty of amazing stuff at Mubi, and it's just a great service. You can try Mubi free for 30 days at Mubi.com/Karsten. That's MUBI.com/Karsten for a whole month of amazing cinema for free.